Welcome to History Lesson with Jaff. Hello guys and fellow students. My name is Jan Fredrik, also known as Jaff.
So, today on History Lessons with Jaff, we're going to talk about the Renaissance.
And how the work of Dante Alighieri influenced the Renaissance at the time. And if Dante had an impact at the Renaissance at all.
So first of all, what is the Renaissance?
So, after the Dark Middle Ages, a new age emerged. After all the darkness and the Black Plague, the wars, a new time of enlightenment shone through. The Renaissance. The Renaissance was inspired by the classics of the ancient Greeks and the ancient Romans. The new style of art were introduced. It was the time of cultural and intellectual enlightenment. In short, the Renaissance is a time of change and rebirth. The Renaissance took place in the 13th-15th century in West Europe. Normally, the Renaissance is associated with the 1500th century and the 16th century. But today I like to focus on the beginning and the early age of the Renaissance, which began in Florence, Italy. Why do you ask? Because it was in Florence that Dante Alighieri made his biggest impact. Who was Dante Alighieri? Well, Dante Alighieri was and still remains a literary genius, whose name and impact resounds with glory. His knowledge and influence simply cannot be overstated. He found immortality and supremacy in his work, which few other authors accomplished. Dante Alighieri was born in Florence. Although we're not sure about the exact date, we do know that he's born around the year 1265. Not many facts was known about Dante Alighieri's early life, but the information we do know is pulled out of his many famous works. Questioning Dante's education, we do have very few details, but we do know that he studied at a chapter school that may or may not have relations to a church or a monastery. While he was studying, he studied Tuscan poetry and studied the works of many great Latin writers and authors, like Cicero and Virgil. After Dante's education, Dante was exiled from Florence because of the conflicts that was occurring at the time. It was at this time Dante began his work on the Divine Comedy. Being away from any business in Florence, Dante was able to focus on his writings and his poetry. While Dante never returning back to Florence, he was invited to Ravenna by the prince in 1318. This was the closing chapter of his life. While returning to Ravenna, after writing Paradise of the Divine Comedy, he passed away in 1321. Life in the time of Dante was very conflict-oriented.
Beside all the conflict, Italy had slowly been moving into a new age.
With the Renaissance right around the corner, Dante Alighieri finished his tenure in the tail end of the medieval period. Dante's influence was crucial for historical changes to take place in Italy. By choosing to write his poems in Italian rather than Latin decisively, he changed the course of literary development. Not only did Dante lend his voice to his people and the emerging culture of his own country. Because of Dante's work and influence, Italian became the literary language for several centuries. Dante's work was also extremely influential to the humanism, which was a cultural and literary movement that started in Italy around the 14th century.
Dante influenced the humanism by writing his works and poems in a heliocentric point of view.
That meant that it was the human and the individual actions that was in the center. Maybe the biggest influence of them all was how Dante symbolically conveyed the religious purpose and duty into the Divine Comedy. With both a symbolic and a literal explanation of the religious purpose and duty that occurred in the Divine Comedy, it was a true tenet to be creating such a monumental world at the time.
Dante Alighieri was also the proprietor of the movement Dolce Stil Novo, also known as Sweet New Style.
It was a literary movement involving intellect and prose for the wonder of life and love.
His overall influence added fuel to the fire of Romanticism, which would shape the arts history in Europe during the Renaissance. I think that without Dante Alighieri, the world would be a very different place. Dante gave meaning to a changing world. and with a level of artistry that is seldom matched. Dante continues to be a figure that history must never forget.
That was the first episode of History Lessons with Jaff. I hope you guys liked it. See you guys later.